Hello, hello, hello. What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Abundance Daily. This is your host with the most, Alex Dumas, your abundance coach. And this week, Sarah's going to be taking some time off, hang out, do some stuff at the house and take care of the kids. So I'm holding it down. And I have a special guest with me. His name is Dom Brightmon. We had the pleasure of connecting via social media, and I was just super impressed by this young man. He's coming out of Baltimore, and he's working his way up through the speaking ranks. He's got an incredible podcast. He's already an author of a book, Going North, and he's going to be releasing a new book. We're going to talk about that on this episode, and I was just really impressed with him and really excited to share his message and some of the challenges he's faced as far as dealing with loss in his family and just dealing with making his way into the world, being a young man, being a young black man, obviously, and trying to do something in this space that coming from his background and some of his experiences that you wouldn't think that he would be able to do, but he's surpassing all those expectations, and he's doing a lot of great things for himself and his community. And I'm just really excited to share his point of view and his perspective with you. So for those of you that are returning, that are part of the Domination, our core group, our listeners, we want to thank you for returning. And for those of you that are listening for the first time, thank you as well. Someone out there is following the instructions of telling a friend to tell a friend, and we appreciate you for listening and hope that you'll continue to be with us on this journey. Make sure you subscribe so you can get the latest news and updates from us. And if you found value from this, leave a review. And let's move up the charts, and let's make sure that we spread this organically and just grow and get the word out to more people and add more value. So with all that said, let's get into the interview, and hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is Alex Dumas, your abundance coach, and I've got with me young man coming out of Baltimore, Dom Brightmon. He's here with us this week to give us some insights, give us some tips. And you might be wondering, who is Dom? Why is he on the show? How can he contribute to you and contribute to your mission, your journey? Well, here's a little bit of background about him, right? Like I said, he's coming out of Baltimore, young man, tough city already. So you should know that he's already a champion, just being in an environment where most things are not positive, I should say. And just some of his credentials here. So he's titled as a millennial author. He's the youngest area director in Region 7 of Toastmasters International. He was only 23 at the time in 2016 where we received this acknowledgement, this award. He was awarded with the Youth Ministry Directors Award in 2017 for entrepreneurial pursuits, and he's also been selected as one of the top 10 self-help podcasters in the world for his podcast Going North. And he's, like I said, he's an author already, so he has his book Going North. So Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. And not done yet. He's got book number 2 coming out in October of this year. So young man on a mission. He's busy. He's fast moving. And I'm super grateful to have him on the show because I wanted to get his perspective for some of you folks that may be younger, and for some of you folks who have kids that are in the tween age or even teenagers, young adults that maybe could use some inspiration, some motivation. So Dom, I want to thank you first and foremost for taking your time out to be on the show.
Oh, man, thanks for having me, dude. This is freaking awesome, baby. This is freaking awesome.
It was awesome for me, man. I'm glad we got a chance to connect. We've been kind of following each other for a short time, but just for me, kind of keeping tabs on you, checking out what you're doing, tuning into your movement. I mean, I'm super impressed, and I'm just excited to have you with us. So I want to kind of just get into it right now as far as I've given you that little bit of an introduction, but for those that don't really know you, let's kind of dive into who is Dom Brightmon.
Sure thing. So, for those who haven't heard that amazing introduction by Mr. Abundance himself, Alex, name's Dominique B. Brightmon. You can call me Dom Brightmon for short because it's a lot easier, and folks have trouble spelling long names since my first two names are combined 18 letters. So it's like, okay, let me shorten this for the folks who don't like writing.
Hey, whatever's marketable, whatever gets the SEO in.
Darn straight, it's like Dom Perignon and it's like Dom from Fast and the Furious, so it's
Uh,
twice as good. So some double D action for you.
all right, all right. Oh man, I knew this was gonna be fun. I knew it was gonna be a fun interview. As soon as oh man, awesome, Dom Brightmon, man. So, tell me, man, what about? I want to go back to Little Dom, right? So, what was Little Dom like? What were your big ideas? What were your big dreams, and kind of how did that push you into what you're doing right now?
Yes, little Dom. Yes, he was shorter, didn't have as much muscle and fat, and heck, even had less hair on his face. No, but seriously, though, little Dom. It's kind of funny. It's like as a kid, there was really some things that were just going on, just like little kid stuff, like playing with Legos and toys, playing with the computer, Windows 95. So I was one of the earlier millennials who got the chance to see a rotary phone and just play with Windows 95 with Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and all that good stuff. But also just the fact that I was also raised mostly in church for most of my life. Parents used to dress me up and used to enjoy going to church for most part. Got a nice little foundation on some Bible verses through Sunday school and occasional classes during the week. And it's kind of funny because Little Dom really wasn't much of a outgoing guy. He was more of a stay to himself in the corner sort of dude. I'm still like that today in some regard, but not as much. I'm actually a lot more outgoing and a lot more confident in myself because it's kind of amazing how I was able to discover, or should I say, rediscover my love for reading. Because one thing in school is that they force you to read all these books, and a lot of the books they may recommend to you, it's like, what does this have to do with me and what I want to do in life? So being able to get that love for reading and reading great books by folks like John Maxwell and Jim Rohn, as well as countless others, heck, even Steve Chandler, who may not be as well known, but still drops great content. In addition to all my studies, just helped me to get that confidence and just become even better and to actually get the mindset and have aspirations to actually write and publish my first book and to actually do a podcast after all these years of folks telling me since I was in my teens that I have this radio voice. So it's just basically just an introvert kid, a very shy kid who just basically grew up and decided to actually, in a way, take a bull by the horns and get out there and do more stuff because life is given, but it's a gift that you have to take care of and try to use to the best of your ability because there's folks out there who didn't make it today. There's folks out there who may not make it tomorrow, and it's just a new day, and a new day means a new opportunity, and a new opportunity to either make someone smile and make their day better, or a new opportunity to find a way to advance yourself and to advance others.
Man, I, I'm not sure everybody can caught all that. You guys are gonna have to rewind that a couple of times because there's a lot of duels in there that I'm gonna have to even have some time. I need some time to process myself, man. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
I mean, one they were right with that with the radio voice. Right now, I feel like I'm listening to like Lenny Green, Kiss FM, like the Smooth Jazz Hour, whatever, all that all that stuff. But dude, with you being, I guess, quote unquote, introverted and more reserved, what do you think kind of pushed you from being the shy kid, the fly on the wall, to someone now who's broadcasting themselves, via different platforms and, connecting your message to other people? That's not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're right. And there's still times where it's like if I don't give myself the right amount of sleep, it's like I don't need to be around any other humans. So, yeah, but I have to say what really pushed me out of that was the fact that once I got out of high school, it was a Christian high school with a lot of things that they indoctrinate you on, just going to community college and getting a degree and actually, funny enough, receiving probably one of the strangest gifts a 21-year-old can receive, and that was the gift of a car accident. And
Really?
yeah, yeah, I was on my way to class, and it was the road was wet, and I was making a turn, and brake jammed, and my car basically just ran to the curb, and the wheel just came flying off, and I was just stuck in the car.
Wow.
And after that, that was the same year that my father was stricken with dementia, and it was just a long period of just having to take care of both him and my mother at the same time. And it was just that putting me into a moment, I guess you can call that the basement moment where, or at least I could say a below the basement moment where it's where like at the lowest point, but there's really a low point under the low point where it's like you're seeing your father, your hero die, and that's if you're blessed to have one, and it's very, very mentally agonizing, and then just crashing your car, and then almost losing your job because I also had a part-time job at a local library at the time, and things were just going south for that moment, and I realized that there's really an acres of diamonds around me where there was opportunities around me that I didn't realize were around me the whole time. I worked at a library for 5 years, but never went into the sections that really would have gifted me that ability to actually transform my life and to reinvent it. So I went to the leadership section of the library, picked up some books by John Maxwell, The Five Levels of Leadership, and the
Mm.
21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. And I took a lot of the activities from those books, and I've actually use them to actually transform, become reborn, and reinvent myself for the better. So, reading is a way to reinvent yourself because when you read the right books, you can change your path for the right amount of abundance in your life. Because when I decided to reinvent myself through reading a different set of books and actually becoming a voracious reader from reading one good book, it helped me to realize, hey, there is so much out there. So it's like you got all this stuff out there: leadership, sales, psychology, and then all these opportunities out there. And then helped me to transform, become promoted at my job to full time, and finally finishing up with my degree, launching a podcast, even writing a book, and being on my way to writing another book. And that's just a few of the things that I got going right now that I plan to expand on in the future. And this is all because I just decided to actually read more books and more of the right books that really help you to develop that mindset, that rock hard mindset. Heck, I'll even drop one of the acronyms from my book that'll help you to develop a rock hard positive attitude, and that is RAVE, RAVE. So the R is the most important one. I've already said it. It's reading. So that's reading great material. And the A is audio immersion. So basically listening to great audiobooks and podcasts like this one. Then the V is visualization, basically helping to visualize yourself in a brighter future. And the E is encouragement. And the E is very important because there are going to be days where you're going to have to encourage yourself to keep going. Like with the car accident itself, sometimes you may get injured if you're doing some kind of practice or martial arts practice. You may have a day that's not going your way. It may be important to encourage yourself when there's no one else around, and more importantly, to encourage others around you, because you never know what someone may be going through right now, because there's folks who may have suicidal thoughts and they may have gone through a tough time. Heck, even this past weekend, I was down in Arkansas at a men's leadership conference as one of the keynote speakers, and I was staying with this family, and this mother said that her daughter was going through a time where she basically had a seizure while she was driving.
Oh
And
my
by the
God.
grace of God, she actually just pulled over 4 lanes into the short road shoulder and passed out miraculously. And then she was recovered from that. And that was 3 months ago at the time of this recording in September. So it was like, you never know who's going through what. They may be smiling, but you got to keep realizing that, hey, you may be going through something, but there's someone out there who's going through something that may be on the same level of despair as you, if not worse. So it's always great to read great material, immerse yourself with great audio programs, and try to visualize a better future for yourself and always to encourage others.
Man, I mean, thank you for sharing that story. And whew, man, that's some good stuff. I mean, I just want people to catch this because I'm taking notes down. I jot down anytime I talk with anyone that I have on the show. So I always, this is as much for me as for you as it is for the people out there, the domination, my audience. So I want you guys to catch this. I want to revisit this. He said, reading is a way to reinvent yourself. So I want to let that soak in for a second, and then the rave, that acronym of reading, audio immersion, visualization, and encouragement. And I want to just kind of touch on the encouragement part because I think that's something that most people struggle with because for so long we're unfortunately programmed to feed into the negative and to believe these negative things about ourselves and negative things about the world, and in almost in almost a way that we want to try to humble ourselves by not encouraging ourselves because we may see that as being braggadocio or being confident or too cocky versus being a person that encourages yourself. You're lifting yourself up, and the way you do that is by lifting others up. And I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Thanks a bunch, man. Like, everybody needs it, man. Everybody, even the most happiest person in the room needs it. You don't know what they're doing when you turn your head to be like, oh man, I'm glad they're gone.
Very true, and you and me, we have pretty similar backgrounds as far as going through high school. I went to a private school, Catholic school, and a lot of the things that I discovered through reading weren't necessarily things that were on the curriculum. I had to discover things like Jim Rome and Les Brown and John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, all these guys. Can't think what's his name, Tom Hopkins, people like that who stretch my mind and stretch my belief for so much. And it's kind of crazy to me. That's part of one of the things of Abundance Daily, that my goal in the end is to transform this into a curriculum for schools that really help empower kids. But I'm going off on a tangent there. I want to get back more into you right now. So let's talk about the book, because I want to really, you already touched on the rave part of it. So going north, where did this idea come from? What sparked this thought of becoming an author?
Yes, funny enough, the original book title started off as a joke back in around 2011 at work. Because one day a colleague of mine, she asked how it was going, and I was like, hey, it's going north. And she was like, oh, okay. And then a couple years down the road, I get challenged to write a book, and then I realize what I'm going to title this. Oh, wait, Going North. And it's like, okay, we can call this the Going North philosophy, and it kind of is in alignment with the Abundance Daily podcast. Because thanks again for allowing me to be on your show and speak with the audience here. But the Going North mentality, it's all about advancing others to advance yourself. And I'm pretty sure folks who are really studious in the world of sales, leadership, and motivation know about Zig Ziglar. And his awesome quote is that if you help enough other people get what they want, you will eventually get what you want. I read the book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, and I believe it was chapter 7 or 8, and it talked about the advancing personality. And that chapter is probably one of the most powerful chapters ever read in any book known to man, next to the Bible itself with Proverbs and all of his other books, because that chapter in particular that talks about the advancing personality, it talks about what an advancing man is, and I sought to become that person. So basically, reading that book and putting into action some techniques from other books, I was able to compile a 500-page book that's 50 pages because we're in the microwave generation where
Mm.
folks like to scroll through life and they don't have time to read a big, huge, thick book. So it's nice and easy to read, 50 pages. You'll finish it in one sitting. And this is actually where the world is going nowadays because goldfish have have a higher attention span than humans nowadays, thanks to the huge amount, the uber amount of stimulation out there with the smartphones that's creating the zombie apocalypse, among other things. And the book itself, I like to call it the self-help for the distracted. So it's motivational. We finished in one sitting. It's full of some of the best techniques that I've gotten from other folks and actually put into action. They even gives you some great quotable quotes that'll keep you motivated. It'll also teach you how to become promoted, how to become a better customer service individual, because there's a chapter on life being about customer service,
Mm.
because customer service goes just beyond your 9 to 5 if you're around people. Customer service is life because they're servant leadership. And since you're Catholic, I'm pretty sure you, or at least at the time in the Catholic school, I'm pretty sure you heard about Jesus coming to serve others and not being served. So
Mm.
he
Absolutely.
he was the ultimate servant leader. So that's basically, I wouldn't say in a nutshell, but it's basically what a lot of what the Going North book is. It's about advancement because everybody in life desires advancement at one point or another in one form of another.
Absolutely. And I think a key thing for you that, just listening to you and hearing your journey is something that you keep going back to over and over again is that you took the action, that you applied it. I think for a lot of people in our microwave generation, we're seeing successful people on Instagram, social media, all these different platforms, and we're just seeing the now. We're just seeing where they are now, their success now, but we're not really paying attention to their journeys. That overnight success, that person who just blew up out of nowhere, it may have taken them 5 years, 10 years. You don't know what they had to go through. And part of what they had to go through was actually taking the steps, getting knocked down, having false starts, reinventing themselves, figuring things out, configuring what they were going to do, their game plan, and then eventually getting right and quote unquote getting lucky versus really it was just they put in the work. It was the right time. It wasn't in the past. It may have been their turn, but it wasn't really their time yet. And I just love what you said, just about taking action. I'm always about taking massive immediate action. You have a thought, you have an idea, do it now because later is always never. Unfortunately.
It's so true. It is so true. Later is never, man. That's why the candy's called an hour later. An hour later.
Yeah, it's 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 unfortunately it's the truth though. I mean, because I've been a product of that. I've had so many great ideas, and they just they just never came to fruition. And then I was like, all right, let me create the podcast. Can I really do that? That's the next thought. I want to do this. Can I really do it? And then you start blocking yourself, you start talking to yourself, and all these sabotaging thoughts. And then eventually one of them's going to win. Either
It's true.
action's going to win or inaction's going to win. And you're going to make that choice. So I want to just go back to you saying now you got challenge, and I want to just kind of tap into your experience with Toastmasters. How did that come about? How did that start? And what kind of inspired you to make that leap forward? Because from everything I'm hearing, you've been an introvert, you've been kind of the shy guy, but in diving into the books, I'm sure people might have like had their little comments and try to clown you like, oh, look, get your head out the books, but really you're just building the foundation for yourself to do what you're doing now and what you're going to be doing in the future. So how did that start with Toastmasters?
Yes, it was actually through my audiobook listening. I'm not sure which one it was at the time. It might have been one of Brian Tracy's audiobooks
Mm.
where I mentioned Toastmasters, and back at that time when I heard about it, at the same time, I volunteered to spearhead a public speaking seminar for my church at the time a few months in advance. So I went ahead and checked out Toastmasters as an opportunity to see how to conduct a public speaking seminar and probably even see if I can network and connect and build a relationship with the speaker and have them be the main event for that event. And ended up giving some speeches in Toastmasters, stuck with it, and had a friend do the seminar for me at the church at that time. The seminar was a success. And I was at the crossroads where it's like, okay, the seminar's over. I enjoyed my time at Toastmasters. Do I stay or do I leave?
Hmm.
And I figured it'd probably be best to stay. And the funny thing about Toastmasters, for those who don't know, it's a nice, I like to call it the leadership laboratory, as well as low impact networking for introverts, because there's a club probably within a good 30 minutes of where you are right now, especially in America. There's clubs, and the clubs memberships usually range from 10 to 30 people per meeting. And the good thing about going to those meetings is that everybody has the same goal, and that is to get better. So if you want to become a better communicator, I suggest going to your local Toastmasters club. So back to the whole crossroads thing. I was a member of one club, so to really expand myself, I joined an additional club. And when I joined that additional club, I really amped up my game from leadership and just volunteer for just about everything. So from schlepping the stuff and setting up the room to becoming the president of a club while overseeing 17 other clubs as a division director after having a successful year as area director. It gave me the opportunity to not only connect with others and to give more speeches and talks, but it helped me to develop more leadership ability and to give me somewhat of a sandbox for management as well. Because one of the things John Maxwell likes to mention is that anybody who's looking to serve in any leadership capacity on the job, they should seek out to lead in a volunteer organization.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, that was one heck of an experience because I learned some things about myself, and I've learned the fact that management is not for everybody. Because just because you see the nice extra money at the end of the year, like an extra 3 grand, they're just going to tax all that off, and there's going to be more responsibility on you. And if you're one of those folks who have a side hustle like me, you're not going to want to have to worry about your job and selling the benefits and babysitting other folks at the same time. So it just gave me that laboratory to not only connect with others, it also gave me the sandbox, that laboratory per se, to practice leadership and communication and to continue my personal development. Because another thing through Toastmasters is if when you continuously show up and give talks, it's a form of teaching others because you're usually giving a talk on what you know about. And when you talk about something you know, it's going to embolden your thinking. You're going to give your thinking that six pack, basically. And
Right.
not the beer, though, not the beer. We're talking about like the
Yeah.
six
On the
pack on,
cool.
on your
I know
half.
you're talking not encouraging drinking on this show. If you want to take it, you want to have a sip, go ahead. That's your own personal time. But we're talking about the core of your body, core of your mind.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because that's the abundance you don't need. You don't need the alcohol abundance, baby. You don't need
No,
that.
no,
This is not the abundance daily of alcohol podcast.
no, no, my goodness. Oh shoot, that's funny. That
Yeah, I bet you say something stupid every now and then. It throws people off.
no, it's all right. Listen, that's my speed. I'm always thinking of something wacky and screwy because in my vertical of my the abundance, what I think about is faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. Those are five fingers, right? You
Yes,
put those all
sir.
together, that's a fist. Once you have a fist, you can fight through anything in life. But you got to have them all together. You got to have them tight. And fun, I mean, you got to be able to poke fun at yourself. And and being in a Toastmasters environment, yes, that may be intimidating for some, and public speaking's, quote unquote, one of the biggest fears, and not the biggest fear outside of death or, dying broke, whatever it is. Um, People are just scared to speak, and really, you got to just have fun with it because it's going to be impossible for you to look good and get better at the same time. You're gonna have to make mistakes. You're gonna have to flub and sound stupid and mumble and stumble over your words. But at the end of the day, if you're about your message, if you really are passionate about it, that's what that's what's going to connect with people versus trying to be perfect and say every single word perfectly. Dot, period, semicolon. That doesn't sell.
All robotic and whatnot.
Yeah. This is my talk about abundance. Abundance is like people will turn this off in a heartbeat. Just want to free flow, have fun with it, and those that get it, get it. Those that don't, bless them anyway. You know, that's all you can do. Oh, man, where was I? I mean, I got super off track. All right. So we talked about the Toastmasters. So actually, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. So you going into these clubs, and then what was that turnaround time from you starting out, being a member of the clubs into actually being pulled into these leadership positions? Like, what was that time frame looking like?
Time frame was pretty short. I mean, the first club I joined is around October 2013 at the time, and then basically that summer I basically was asked to be a leader. And funny
Wow.
enough, a few months before that, June, when I joined the other club, I was actually a leader in about a good 2 months after joining. So it really depends on the club and their needs. It's because since it's a volunteer, it's basically all hands on deck. If you look like you're ready, willing, and able, and if you're ready, willing, able, and available, then you're basically in. As for the higher levels of leadership, after just doing the first role, which was Sergeant at Arms, for a few months, I went to a conference where basically a bunch of folks from all over a district, and the district usually contains about a good 100 plus clubs, where you're meeting some of the best in that area. They see you, and then if you talk with them, and then you may give off that vibe that you're serious and you're really dedicated and passionate about it. They start seeing it these different places, they'll probably recruit you, and that's what happened to me. They saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and I went ahead and grabbed the bull by the horns and advanced quickly in that amount of time. So it's really not a long turnaround time. It's usually a few months, and that's all because I was serious about it. I showed up. I was there to get better, and folks saw that in me. So they decided, it's like, hey, let's give this kid a chance, and it was like, hey, it actually happened.
Listen, I want to hear it for you because I say this all the time. I say the best ability in life you could have is availability. And part of that being honest with yourself with what you want, being open to opportunities and being willing to take that risk and take that step, because if you don't take the step, you won't ever know if you can get to the next level or next destination in your journey. And that's awesome that you did that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so definitely want to acknowledge you for that and just salute you for that. So now I want to kind of fast forward. Now let's kind of move into the future. So we have book number 2 coming out. What's that going to be about?
Yes, book number 2. The title for that is going to be Stay the Course, Keys to Sustaining High Performance. It is the follow-up book to Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. And I gave myself 2 years time since 2016 to get this book out because, one, I wanted to give myself more time to actually improve on my craft and to actually do some things differently than what I did with the first book. And after writing the first book, I went through some tough times because I lost my father after his long battle with dementia, March of last year, 2017.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and during all that, I was still division director of Toastmasters, where I was overseeing those 17 clubs. So I still had about a good 3 more months of my term where I basically lost two teammates slash direct reports, and I basically had to pull their weight as well. So that kind of goes back to that whole management thing where you have to be ready to pull the extra necessary weight when some folks fall off the wagon. And speaking of weight, I was gradually gaining weight, but eventually ballooned to a good 250 pounds. And not all of that was muscle either. So, so I basically gained all this weight. I got to the level of a top high performer. I was great at my job. I got promoted and all that good stuff, but I wasn't sustaining it. I was hit by life. Life just came out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere like Goldberg and speared me. And
Mhm.
then after getting up, I got sweet chin music from Shawn Michaels at the same time. So it's like, man, I got all these hits of life and had to keep getting back up. And I got to the point where it's like, oh man, I had all this weight, being sluggish. And then I just realized, wait a second, this is actually something that I need, because after reading Going North and actually acting on the advice in it and keeping yourself motivated, you're going to be a high performer in your field of choice and you're going to get promoted. But the thing is, what are you going to do after that? So stay
Yeah.
the course is the follow up piece, because I wasn't sustaining that high level. I got hit by the blows of life. So what are you going to do when you get hit by the blows of life? Are you going to stay down? Or are you going to get back up and do some things that got you to that point? Or are you going to try to sharpen up your sword or your axe and just find a way to recreate, if not create, more abundance in your life, to create more skills in your life, to find a way to get back to where you were, if not better? So this book is basically about sustaining high performance. And one of the things that have helped me to sustain the level of performance was through mentoring and mastermind groups. I mastermind with a wonderful fellow Toastmaster of mine, and she has a home organizing business. And talking with her last winter, I was able to develop basically a series of plans for this year, a 12 series of 12-week years. And the 12-week year is basically the quarters of the year, the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, where you basically take each 3-month series and just build them out based on years. So just basically with that, and then the coaching piece, being coached by others and being mentored by others and being directed to resources and being held accountable, because accountability is one of the key things to sustaining success, because we all have to be accountable to somebody, whether it's ourselves, our employers, or our clients or our customers, because everybody on this planet's got to help out somebody, especially when you're out there trying to make something for yourself, whether it's being that business owner, that star employee. We all got to be accountable to somebody, because especially as a leader, because someone's relying on you to deliver. Some say overpromise and overdeliver. Some say underpromise, overdeliver. At at the end of the day, you got to deliver something. So you got to hold yourself accountable to being able to deliver, and you got to take care of the tank that you have within you, that spiritual tank, that mental tank, just by continuously feeding it with what you need and giving your body and your mind the time, the energy, and all that you need to succeed. So that's basically the extended long version of what to expect out of book number 2.
With the book, that sounds incredible. With staying the course and being accountable, is that something that during your town your kind of your backward slide? I mean, obviously life happened, condolences in your family, your father passing. Is that something that you felt as a contributing factor, along with other things, that not being accountable, kind of you let yourself off the hook a little bit and you just allowed yourself to get that downward slide, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, um, I'm in this place I don't feel comfortable in. I don't want to be in, and you have to search for people to help you out. Is that something you felt like happened for you?
Yeah, that's what happened to me, and especially with the weight gain, it's like, man, like when you get extra weight, it's like, oh shoot. these pants are not sliding up the way they should. What's happening? Yeah, so it's like, yeah, accountability was the main thing. I kept on letting myself off the hook, and that wasn't doing anybody, especially myself, any good.
No, absolutely not. Man, we're flying by right now. There's so much I want to ask, and have such a good conversation right now. I want to just kind of tap into, more about the future for yourself. Kind of a vision of, where is Dom Brightmon going to be next 3 years, 5 years? What do you see yourself doing as far as speaking and, maybe coaching people or mentoring? Have you had an idea of that yet?
Yes, the next 3 years. By that time, I will be an international keynote speaker who has at least given keynotes in 5 other countries, as well as my podcast expanding even more to a huge level and to expand it even into videos as well. So it's really all about expansion because going north, it's for everybody. Everybody wants advancement. So by that time, I want to be more solidified and actually independent and actually being able to speak full time and to do my podcast full time and just have that, not only that financial freedom, but that financial freedom to generate time freedom.
Yes. I think people get that confused. They think finances is just. I had a previous role in financial services, and people say, I want to be wealthy, I want to be rich, I want to be rich, but you're not really looking to be rich. You're looking for what money is going to be able to buy for you and free you up. When you start thinking of time freedom, now you can start putting value on your hours of your productivity and what you're doing, whether it's work or business. If I know that I'm doing a task that's costing me $100 an hour, $200 an hour, $200,000 an hour, whatever it may be, well, is it really worth doing that task? No. Once you start breaking things down like that, that's when it's like, oh, well, me doing this is costing me 50 grand this year because it all adds up, it all builds up. That's just my point of view of it.
And it's a darn good one.
Thanks, man. And I like that vision you have for yourself of keynote speaking, going to different countries, and I think that's important for you, the listener out there, to keep in touch, keep that vision, keep that burning desire within yourself, because it may not happen right now. Like we talked about earlier, the microwave generation. Sometimes you're going to have to put some things in the smoker, in the barbecue grill. You're going to have to let it sit for a few hours. You're going to have to let it cook and burn, and you're going to have to turn it every now and then. I'm getting into a barbecue metaphor here, but the point is this, that you're going to have to let some things stew. You're going to let some things cook and take that time, enjoy the process, versus zap. Here it is. Well, just because you zapped it and it's here doesn't mean you get the fulfillment from it. That makes sense.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. Especially the barbecue reference, man. I need me some grilled burgers at this moment now.
So as we go to kind of wrap this up, I want to kind of tap into your mind a little bit. I mean, we've talked about the books, we talked about growing up in church, family. If you had to put into a sentence or two of what abundance what abundance really means to you, what would that be?
Abundance would be, I'd say abundance is enough for everybody where nobody has to worry about lack of anything.
I like that. A lot of people think of lack and scarcity, and they ignore the bounty that's out there, and we hold on. It's like the story of the squirrel monkeys, where hunters figured out a way to trap them because they were holding on to a nut in a tree, and the squirrel monkey put his hand in the tree holding on to this one little nut. All they had to do is just let go, and they would be free, but they hold on to it, trying to get their hands out of the tree. And obviously, the hunters come along, they kill them and do whatever. But people holding on to the scarcity mindset, this lack, when there's plenty of abundance out there. There's plenty for everybody. There's more than enough for everybody to get theirs, but you have to be willing to take it, not take it as far as stealing or doing something immoral or unjust, but really taking the action.
Amen to that. Don't use a burlap sack. I mean, maybe in the volunteer organization feel like grab them spot by a burlap sack and be like, hey, I need your help with something, but don't do it.
Don't
do it.
Don't do it. Man, there's so much value that I know that you can pour into people, and I want to take a moment right now for my folks out there to connect with you, to make sure that they have enough access to you and to your material and to your content, so that we help your business grow, your brand grow, and you obviously your presence, your ideas, your insights give something back to them. So how can we find you, Dom?
Yes, so I'm pretty easy to find. It is Dom Brightmon on all the social media. So that is DomBrightmon. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of Dom Brightmon. You can check out my website, dombrightmon.com. You can even catch some other interviews and medias and all the other good stuff. And while you're at it, be sure to check out the Going North podcast too. We're going to have the good Alex Dumas in there soon. So that way we can share the wealth, baby, share the abundance, baby. So that way you can get some good knowledge from sacred tomes for your dome.
Man, I'm at the patent that. Damn, that's good. I wish I thought of it myself first. Oh man, yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward. I want to definitely be on your show. And when do you release episodes? I want to make sure that we get in touch with new episodes and also ones from the past.
Oh yeah, that's right, man. You were freaking awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, so every Monday and Thursday morning, expect a new episode. Episodes range from a good 20 to 60 minutes, so it won't take up too much of your day. Probably around twice a week, we feature a different author, so they get to talk about their books and the products and services that they offer. And since the podcast is now a year old on September the 17th to commemorate the 1-year anniversary, I'll be interviewing podcasters and authors as well to expand it as well, so that way we can expand it out for the rest of the world, baby. It's going to be great.
Man, congrats on the upcoming 1-year anniversary. That's a big deal. I want to acknowledge you for that, because I'm only a few months into this podcasting world, and I see how hard it is. People don't really understand the behind the scenes. They just think, oh, we're just talking in front of a microphone and yakety yakking. But it's about the research, the preparation, obviously doing things behind the scenes where trying to make the episodes sound good and editing and things like that. And it takes time. It's not something that we, at least myself right now, I'm not monetizing. This is just me and my wife, our passion to give back to people and help inspire them, help empower them and motivate them. And I'm sure for you, it's that same satisfaction, along with the challenge of, oh man, I got to do this, once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. But I think once you're in a mode of doing something like that, it keeps you at a higher vibration, because you can't take days off. There can't be a week where you're like, I don't really feel like, doing this. I don't really feel like publishing. People are counting on you. Like you said, there's accountability in that, knowing that every week they can count on Dom to release something on Monday and Thursday. Sometimes maybe he may have extra things during the week, or videos or whatever, what have you. So I just want to acknowledge you, salute you for that, because I don't think enough people take the time to think about what it is that you're doing for somebody else. And that's really, in my mind, what abundance is: giving enough of yourself for other people, and you're always going to get more than you give. That's the law. That's how it works.
Amen to that, man. Thanks a bunch, because it takes a lot of work to actually not only create a podcast, but to keep it going. You're going to need some discipline to keep it up.
Yes, discipline. Very, very much so. You say you're going to release something on a date, you have to deliver, over deliver. But that's what it is. So everybody out there, you know how to connect with Dom. Follow him, support his movement, subscribe to his show. Also pick up the books. Well, right now, Going North is available. Once we have Stay the Course. I want to thank you. Super grateful that you had an opportunity to speak with you and just tap into your brain a little bit, and you sharing a whole bunch of nuggets that not only just for myself, I'm going to be using them and taking them and using them as I go along. But I'm sure folks out there who are listening got a lot of value. So appreciate you. Make sure that you support his movement. Make sure that you subscribe to him. Check out the books, Going North, Stay the Course when it comes out as well. And, Dom, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks a bunch, Alex, man. Thanks for having me on. Thank you, folks, for listening, baby. Keep on listening to this guy right here. I'm telling you, the chocolate voices will rule the world, baby.
Man. And on that note, that's how we're going to close it out, all right? So, take care, everybody. God bless. See you next time. Man, awesome stuff. You can tell me and Dom had a great time. We're laughing, we're kicking it, and it was just it was a really natural, fun, just a really easy conversation with them. And I hope that some of the things he said with you as far as being encouraged and immersing yourself in, just the auto-suggestion and the right materials to feed your brain and reading the right things and visualizing those things as well is going to help propel you forward and help move you closer to those end goals you have. And make sure that you support him. Make sure you check out his book. He's got it available on Amazon. When he has the second book out, or at least close to release, depending on the time of this release of this episode, want to make sure that we, get that out to him, get that out to you, and that you're able to, absorb that content, and make sure that you'll be able to absorb that content, and it moves you forward in your journey as well. So all that said and done, support his movement. I'm going to have the links available for you. Subscribe to his podcast, check out his social media, and as always, remember, you're born to live your life in abundance. You're the master of your future. You control your freedom, and you have complete dominance of your thoughts, your emotions, and your habits. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Love you. God bless.